Okay, here we go. We're rolling. Oh, we're jumping. I'm I'm fascinated by your sport because I got no idea about it. It seems so crazy, so wacky, right? So you're gonna have to give me like a 101 little lowdown of what the fuck you do, right? And you're also going over to Birmingham, which is really cool and phenomenal. That means you're going Commonwealth Games. If people didn't know, Birmingham 2022.
2022.
That's insane, mate.
Yeah. I mean, pole vault, it's one of those sports that, I don't know, I think the most interesting thing about it is how technical it is. Like, there's so many different elements that go into pole vaulting that even now I'm still learning about. I mean, when you break the whole thing down, you've kind of got like the run up, the plant, the takeoff, getting upside down, and then getting over the top of the pole. So there's a lot that goes into it, and obviously you're trying to jump as high as you can with an implement as well. So you've got the pole that you need to work your way around. But in a whole competition, we probably take about like 10 different poles. So you do work your way up different poles according to how hard you hit the takeoff into it. Adrenaline in competition as well sort of changes what poles you're on. There's like different pounds, flex, different weights that go into it as well. So many technical things that go into it, but I think that's why I enjoy it so much. And myself coming from a gymnastics background, definitely like getting upside down, getting that like thrilling aspect of it, bit of a, I don't know if I'd go as far as say daredevil, but like, you know, I love that thrill and like fear aspect that comes into the sport because it can be quite scary. Obviously, I've gotten a lot more used to that now, besides when the pole snaps, which isn't the best part of it. I had a few of those. But yeah, I mean, always continually learning. It's a pretty interesting sport. Definitely the most technical one that goes into athletics, I'd say, if I'm not too biased there. But yeah, it's been a crazy rocky ride getting here, and hoping to get to my second Commonwealth Games this year in Birmingham.
I'm fascinated by this shit, man. Like, you look at it from an outsider's perspective, right? Say, for example, you're an alien, right? And for some reason, you're watching the Commonwealth Games or you're watching a pole vaulting championships, and you see these weird creatures running with a pole and then throwing themselves upside down over another pole and just letting gravity do its thing to pull you back down to the crash mat. That's like, it's bizarre.
It is. I mean, I'm so used to it now, but like when you put it that way, it's like it really is quite a weird sport to get into. It's almost like, I mean, you see most of athletics and you're like, why throw a shot that far? Why jump over something that's like double your height? But then pole vault, it doesn't make sense, but maybe that's why I love it. Maybe that's why it's something that that I get a little bit obsessed about and like you can become very perfectionistic about it, just because there's so much that goes into it with the poles, with the runway, all the sort of training we do outside of it as well. Like it's not just pole vaulting. We'll do that probably 3 times a week, but there's heaps that goes into it. But yeah, so it's a weird one to get into as well. It's not one of those ones where you just turn up to your school athletics day and try pole vault. You would probably hurt yourself be doing that.
We know like the evolution of sport, right? Like it was kind of like, oh, I'm going to run from this tree to that tree quicker than you. I was like, well, fuck you, Armedius. I'm going to run quicker than you, right? And whatever. And they're always like, I can throw a rock quicker than you because I'm very slow. So it's like, I ain't running. I'm going to pick this rock up and chuck it. But I always think maybe like a floodlands, right? Maybe the marshlands. It's like, oh, I need to get from point A to point B. It's like, how do I do that? I'm just got to stick this pole in the ground and kind of throw myself over. Like the evolution of pole vault just baffles the shit out of me. I'm like, how did we come up with this and then also come up with a scoring system and also give out medals for it? I think it's insane. But the technicality aspect, I 100% agree. I think is the addictive part of sport, right? Like any sport, like it will slowly, you'll wean yourself off it over time. But if you get that technicality aspect where you've got to always be precisely accurate, like it's addictive.
Yeah, 100%. And like a sport like pole vault, I mean, sport in general, there's so many different aspects that go into it, but I think that's what keeps it really interesting. Like, because I guess for me, I came from gymnastics background, which was like 4 different apparatuses, doing like 20 different skills, so many different things that went into that sort of side of it. And then you go into pole vault, and I was kind of like, oh, you're just doing the same thing over and over again. But then obviously the more I've like got into it and the more that I've like understood the sport, man, there's so much that you can like pinpoint and go into. And sometimes it's like banging your head against a brick wall because you're just like, I can't get this one tiny thing right. And that's the thing that you're just striving for like each day is how can I get this little technical cue right? And then I guess my coach sort of, he looked at it as like a big puzzle piece. And to me, I don't know when I will, but at some point you're just always trying to get it all coming together. Like you've got, and each piece is like a different technical cue or a different thing that you're trying to work on. It's like, oh, sweet, I've got this sorted, got that corner. You try to put another one together, and then that one like comes flying out. You're just always trying to like strive to get those things right. And if you do get one thing right, there's always something else, which I think that's why as an athlete, like you're always constantly improving. You're always wanting to get those little 1%ers, which I don't think many other professions necessarily do. Like there's always improvement there, but in sport and as an athlete, it's very like 1%ers, constant improvement, tiny little things that maybe like most people don't really understand about that goes into it.
And it's all partitioned as well, right? So you strip it all down, and then you've got these like individual aspects of the whole chucking yourself over a line with a pole, right? It's like, well, you don't just go out there and put in 10,000 hours of doing that. Like you also need to strip that down. It's like, well, say for example, we both run and we're doing this thing, right? And we're both amateurs. Okay, take away that you're going to the Commonwealth Games and I've never done it before, right? We're both amateurs. You're faster than I will be, guaranteed. I was like, okay, great. So you're going to obviously do better than I. So then you've got to strip that down. You've got to work on the running, and then you've got to hold this thing. And then it's so fragmented. And then you've got to be able to glue them all together, like you said, with this jigsaw piece. But what they don't tell you is you're making a jigsaw, which is just a white piece of paper. Like you know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, like it's insane. Like being an athlete is insane.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. And like, I mean, you've got the physical side, you got the mental side. And I guess when it comes to me pole vaulting, I pole vault 3 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week. But yeah, you're trying to get faster. You're trying to get those 0.2 seconds. Like we're essentially sprinters with a pole, kind of. A little bit of gymnastics in there. Like it all kind of comes together that way. So you're trying to get faster. That makes it seem like not much more sense anyway. But like even my speeds, like when we do some of our stuff in training, my running with a pole versus without a pole is like probably 0.2, maybe even less at this point. So like that's how much you learn to that's how much you learn to run with a pole. Like my run has definitely like it's different. Like if you've ever tried, probably wouldn't have, but like say putting your hands on your head and just running like that, like it's you just feel so unco. And so that's what it's like with a pole. But over time, I mean, I feel almost more natural with a pole now. Not quite, but like it's sort of how those little things go into it. And then we're obviously in the gym each week as well. So much that goes into it. And I guess the mental side of it, it's like you're turning up to every single session trying to get better, every single day trying to get better. And then when you don't, you sort of have that like judgment on yourself sometimes as well, because if you don't quite get that 1% better, or if you have a bad day, or we've changed the word bad into challenging. So if you have a challenging day, it's just like how can you like improve on that and just learn from it. Like it's not always going to be turning up to each session feeling 100%. That's just the way it goes. I don't think anyone could really be doing that 100% constantly improving. So it's learning through all of that as well.
So how do you navigate the mental side and keep yourself somewhat level? Because you're competing at a level in a sport that people don't even understand, right? But you're competing at a level that 99.9% of the population on the planet will never feel, right? We've all played some sort of Sunday league sport, right? Whether it's fucking tiddlywinks or football, right? And we get nervous, right? I was awful, right? I played county or regional two sports, right? Which is nothing, but I get fucking nervous before working out right now. And I'll go work out and it doesn't matter, if I don't lift the weight, it doesn't matter because I'm not making my money that way. Right. But I'll get so nervous. I'll be like, oh God, I need my 57th piss. And, I feel like I'm going to throw up or whatever. It's like, what is it like? How do you deal with that side? Because that side is really interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, I guess if I start, that's such a big topic to talk about. If I start with like the nerve, like being nervous and that sort of side of it. Again, like I've sort of pretty much been an athlete my whole life, and I'm still learning how to deal with that. But I guess the last few years I've realized that when it comes to nerves and like feeling that adrenaline before a competition, I used to see it as nerves would equal like fear or something that didn't feel very good. It's an emotion, it's a feeling you don't get very often. That when it does come about, you're like, oh, what's going on here? Body kind of goes into fight or flight. Sometimes it would be flight and you wouldn't have good competition out of it. But now I've realized that I want to be feeling nervous. I want to be feeling that adrenaline. And that's what actually like helps me compete so much better. Like before a competition, I'll just be lying there waiting for my first attempt. And I'll be like, okay, I'm feeling nervous. Like I feel a little bit in my stomach. I'm getting those butterflies, something that's coming up before this competition. This is good. Like this is a good thing. I feel ready. I'm excited. I'm on the runway. And like you do want to be feeling different at a competition. Myself, I definitely see myself as a competitor. Some athletes train better and compete a little bit less. Obviously, you want to be the other way around. And I think that's myself. Even if I'm having a bad week vaulting and like in training the week before, the thing that carries me is that I know I can have a good competition almost no matter what. Obviously, I don't always have a good competition, but I rely on the fact that I know I'm going to have that adrenaline. I know I'm going to be in a competition atmosphere. I know I'm a little bit of a show off. I think most of us elite athletes can be when you're on that world stage, especially. I mean, you're wanting to compete well, not only for yourself, but everyone around you. And I think that sort of brings you on to the next part is you need to be doing it internally for yourself. Obviously, I'm trying to make my whole team, my family, everyone else proud. But that only comes from if I'm focused on what I'm doing and if I have that internal motivation to be the best that I can. But it's tough. Like mentally, there's so much that goes into it. I'm still learning so much about myself as an athlete and what makes me tick. I'll have competitions where I absolutely just don't do well. And I put too much pressure on myself. I mean, especially leading into Tokyo, I didn't make it, but part of that was because that whole season was the specific competition. I have to do well. I need to be jumping 4 meters 70. This is the most important competition of the year or something like that. And those words like have to and need to, like I don't, like I want to be competing the best I can at every single competition. It shouldn't need to change for a competition that's like slightly more higher points. But I think we're still learning that. And as I come into the world stage and on some bigger competitions, that there is going to come with more pressure. But I also see pressure as a privilege. Like I'm so privileged to be in the position that I am, to be able to be on this world stage. Like you said, like some of the 1% in the world that is able to do what I am able to. I think when it comes to the point where I might possibly be getting into those medal contentions, that's where I need to stay level-headed and focus on my processes rather than being like, oh, I'm now in 4th, I could be getting a 3rd, or if I get this jump, you just need to like bring it in and stay in the zone, which I know I can still be having fun. At the end of the day, that's why we do it. Yeah.
Why do you do what you do?
Because I love it. Because I have an absolute passion for sport, for pole vaulting. I think it's so awesome that I was able to find the sport that I can excel in. Like, I've been an athlete my whole life. I thought I'd be going to the Commonwealth Games in gymnastics. That was my life for 10 years. And now to have found something that can, like, I was 17 and I was in the European season and like competing against some of the girls that were at a high level. So I do it because I love it. I do it because I want to be pushing myself, having different challenges every day. I remember just being a kid and being at the Millennium for like a school day and being like, man, how cool would that be to be a professional athlete? To just be able to turn up and like do what you love, be like paid for what you do, be able to have that as your job and work towards that like every day. And like here I am, which is pretty crazy. So there's a lot that goes into it, but at the end of the day, I'm just having some fun. And that's what I need to keep coming back to. Like, that's my why. But also something inside me feels like I know that I'm capable of something big. And so that's what I'm striving towards. As long as I do everything right to get there, I do feel like I can be pretty damn good at what I do. And I mean, I'm just trying to get to that point of what I'm capable of.
Well, where do you think that comes from? Do you think that's an innate trait, or do you think it's been passed down environmentally, parents? Where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. My brother, he's an Olympic weightlifter, and he actually went to Tokyo and has gone to the previous Commonwealth Games. So, I haven't put too much thought into it, but I think it's almost a bit of both. Your upbringing, I feel like, brings you back to everything into your adult life. When you look back about why you are the way that you are right now, it's like, well, that's because of this. This is what happened in my childhood, or this is how I was brought up. This is an environment that I was in. So I think a lot of that comes back to the environment. Cam, my brother, and I started off in gymnastics, and I do put a lot of it down to that. The discipline, we were training like more hours back then than we were right now, which is ridiculous to think about. I wasn't even close to a professional athlete back then. So I think a lot of our discipline, the values, our sort of like work ethic has been instilled in us from gymnastics. So that was our childhood, was gymnastics from the ages of about 5 to 14, 15. So myself, I put it down to that. In a more holistic view, I'd say I'd still bring it back to childhood, possibly a little bit of genetic, where that comes from. Say myself, I see myself, this is along the line, like possibly having a partner that would be in athletics. I don't know, you see celebrities go to celebrities, you see athletes with athletes, and I think it would almost be too hard to have a kid that like wouldn't do or be in some sort of sport if two athletic parents were. So I don't know, it's hard to tell whether it's like genetics or where that comes from. There's a lot that goes into it, but I think majority of it would be childhood and what you're introduced to at a young age. If you're introduced to music, then that's going to be something that you might go down a little bit more.
Yeah, I think gymnastics is such a fascinating one. Like, it's, it's such an early specialization sport, right? But you gain like so much from it. Like, I coached all over, coached all over the world, and all the athletes that come in, whether it is an average Joe or someone going to the Youth Olympic Games, the ones that can take to something like this, right? When you get to know them, and I'm like, I got an inkling they've done gymnastics, right? So I walk up to him, you get to know him. I was like, oh yeah, I did gymnastics for X amount of years. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay. Next thing you know, years go by and you're like, right, there's a common denominator here, and people are doing gymnastics at a young age. And I'm fascinated by sport and people working out and all that type of stuff. And you go back in like Soviet training system, we're all doing bear crawls and all this kind of nonsense, not gymnastics, but we're not just working in like forward and back, right? Or just playing football. We're doing a little bit more with our body, right? And mastering the art that is like bodyweight training and calisthenics and all that type of stuff. And I think there's so much carryover to it. And I'd love to I'd love to see it implemented in skills a lot more, right? Like rather than, hey, we're gonna do netball today, we're gonna play tennis today, we're gonna kick 7 balls of shit out at each other, and we're gonna call it rugby today, or it's gonna be like, hey, like we're gonna learn how to do a fucking push-up, or we're gonna run on our hands or something, right? And I think it'd be a really interesting experiment to do with like a generation of kids in a non-sadistic way. That kind of seems a bit crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think you
New
make
Zealand's
insane athletes.
Yeah, they do 100%. And I mean, I look back to like my PE school days, and it was majority of just like those generic sort of ball sports. Definitely in New Zealand, where you get the rugby players and the netballers coming through, and that's sort of the two main sports that come through in that. And I was hopeless, like still to this day, not very good at hand-eye coordination. So maybe we can like swap that. They can do like sometimes we would have a gymnastics like little class, and I was like, yes, this is where I can excel and see the others just like learn the ropes of it. But yeah, it's one of those sports that just teaches you so many like values out of it, as well as like the experimental sort of like physical side of it. I mean, going from, I think it sets you up for pretty much all sports, minus sports, pretty much.
I agree.
Yeah. And like for pole vault, it was a perfect transition. Like a lot of pole vaulters are ex-gymnasts, just because it's such a similar sport in terms of like body awareness. You're already coming from speed, strength, power, like agility, so many different things that had already translated over into pole vaulting. But I think the biggest one, and I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on it, but like the coachability of an athlete. I mean, you're pretty young when you start gymnastics. You're almost taught how to be coached and how to take on different cues. So then coming into any other sport, it's like, well, right, like this kid, I tell them how to, I don't know, I give them a cue and they know how to do it pretty much instantly because that's been drilled into them as a young age. And the ones that like sort of continue and excel in that is they can pick up on those cues a lot easier than the ones that probably didn't do gymnastics or didn't come from like a more, I don't even know the word for it, but more of like a, you do this, like telling you these cues and then how to like change it. It makes such a big difference, those little cues, rather than on a, possibly even a team sport on a big playing field. If one person does something wrong, like it does affect everyone else, but it's not as much on yourself. Like it's so much easier to see in like an individual sport, I think anyway.
I think it's the body awareness that they develop. You know, they come in and like push your knees out, right, in a squat. They're like, okay, you know, you can close your eyes and they know exactly where it is in space and time, right? They have that proprioception. But I've like legitimately had people that have never played any sport, never done anything, right? And they're deep into their 40s. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like, cool. Let's work out. Let's get on the dance floor. Let's figure this thing out. I'm like, all right, you're going to finish with the med ball in front of your chest, right? And we're doing, I don't know, whatever we're doing, like a med ball clean or something. And they'll put it above their head. I'm like, no, like, let's just, you know, keep it in front of your chest. Yeah, that's where it's going to finish, like right in front of your chest. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, when you're ready, do it again. And they put it above their head again. I'm like, what the fuck? I look at this person like, Alex, don't say anything. You know, you're northern, but you've got to be nice. You know, you've left the north. You can't tell people what the fuck is that. You know, you got to be nice about it. And I'm like, okay, you know, good job. Bring it down, and you like finish. Like you put them in that position. Like, you know how this feels, yeah. He's like, you know how you can see me, yeah. I was like, the ball is under your chin, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Finish there. Okay, great. And they do it again. They put it above their head. I'm like, oh, what the fuck is going on?
I want to walk out right now.
Like I'm talking to a brick wall here. But with a gymnast, it's like, oh, you know, you can get real nuanced with the cues. You know, you can tell them like a very specific thing. They're like, yeah, don't worry, coach, I got it. And actually, you know, like they've pretty much perfected it. You're like, that's near enough as good as I do it. And I've been doing that shit for 6 years. You know, it's cool. However, you know, I would play devil's advocate. I think we need both as a kid. I think we need more sport in skills. Like people, you know, they're like, oh, technology's going up, you know, academia and competition in terms of academia is going up. So we need more time in the classroom. I think we need the opposite. I think we need more time out of the classroom, right? And I think everyone needs to do some sort of indie sport and some sort of team sport, because the indie sport is focused on the individual, right? Like I can ask you 21 questions and you know exactly how you feel. You know exactly what the body's like. You could be like, Alex, I'm at 37.575% today. And I'm like, how did you get that? I was like, oh, because I've gone through this checklist. I'm like, great. But then like, you know, the opposite in terms of the team sport, it was like, you learn how to adapt on the fly and read other people and there's social cues and all that type of shit. And like, I don't know, I geek out over this. If I go down a rabbit hole, just slap me with a wet salmon and tell me to fucking stay on track. You know, I'm blonde, you see.
No, I was gonna say I can like definitely get into that heaps because I don't know, it's interesting like in general when you're talking about like specialization as well. Like I'm definitely, my route was early specialization into one sport and then transitioning into the other. And I say that because it worked for me. And but then I see a more holistic approach. I'm like, well, from a young age, kids probably should be doing a bunch of different sports, trying to understand which one is going to be the best for them, whether that's team sports, individual sports, whatever it is. Obviously, huge advocates here on sport in a young age, just because it teaches you so much. Like, I think all kids should be getting into that and finding something that they want to do, even if that's just, I don't know, playing football for a few years, even if that's.
Thank you for calling it football and not soccer.
Okay.
You call it soccer, I'm throwing something through the computer screen. I get so pissed off.
I've been taught.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, continue.
But yeah, I think like early specialization only works to a certain point. I'm a reason for that, and I think it can create burnout. Whereas that more holistic approach is something where all kids from a school age, it should be instilling that in them, and that's something I want to be looking forward to. I guess like at the end of my career, I want to be working with like youth and like development athletes before that sort of like cross off path. They're like, right, do I want to keep doing this? This is a lot of training. I might need a little bit more support, right? I'm going to take this route and decide to be an athlete and actually put everything into it, because you can't really half-ass it at it.
Fuck no, you ain't going anywhere if you half-ass it.
Yeah, you can't. So having that support from that age, I think is pretty important as well. So because it's just too easy to sort of, I don't know, you just need to decide. You need to make a pretty big decision. And all athletes that are, I say, elite at this age would have known that point where they probably made that decision. For me, I think it was just not even a decision. I've just been an athlete my whole life. It's something that I just knew was like, right, I can't do gymnastics. What next? What other sport? Yeah. I
ain't doing maths.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I think that's the difference between GPP and performance, right? Like I think PE as a whole in school needs to be more, general physical preparedness based. I was like, hey, we're going to build better human beings. So we're, I don't know, a little bit harder to kill. And we get to decipher what this thing is that we call a body, right? And we have fun while doing it. And you can, I don't know, teach them maths or some shit while you're doing it. I'm going to leave that to the experts. And then the performance base, that gets real technical, and I think that's really interesting. It's funny because I came from an early specialization sport. I was a swimmer back in the day. I know it doesn't seem like it. I'm more of a whale. I jump in the pool and the water jumps out. But yeah, it's really interesting because you spend so much time like staring at the black line. It was, I don't know, I was maybe 10 or 11 doing like 14 sessions a week in the pool. Like it's insane the amount of times you spend in the pool, right? And I was definitely that guy that got burnt out. I was like, fuck this, I ain't doing this anymore. I'm kind of past my peak in the sense of, I'm a little bit larger than most people, especially when the swimmer's not in height, more in width, right? Put it that way. So I'm like, dude, I'm sinking. Like, this is not working. I'm not streamlined anymore. I'm just fucking sinking. I can't get away with power. And it's weird because then I transitioned over to a team-based. So then I go play rugby and different. But I coached a lot of swimmers, like through like these D1 uni, like a private swim club back home. And it's really, really interesting, like navigating, early specialization and the parents going with it, right? Because they want their kids to do this and this. And all the coaches care about is whether they're shaving times off in the pill. I'm like, great. But I'm also caring about the individual, right? And if this individual at 14 walks down the stairs and turns a corner and pops his frigging back out or her back out, then that's not an athlete, in my opinion, right? If you take a fish out of the water, it's going to die. We want to be able to give them something, you know, so they can excel in that sport, but also not break by 15. And then you've just broken a kid. You're going to chuck them out and get somebody else in. I was like, we can't just work that way. You know, we need to look at it a little bit of a different angle.
Oh yeah, 100%. You need to be looking at it holistically rather than just this one skill that you're trying to hone. Like there's so much more that goes into it as an athlete, as a person. Like you said, you don't want to be getting injured going and playing tennis for a weekend when you're a competitive swimmer, because that's something that you're not used to. So like creating that sort of overall, like what is it that's going to help my body work as a person, as an athlete, injury prevention, everything like that. There's so much that you can sort of look into, but I guess that specialization does take that away a little bit. But if you have a good coach, I mean, like you're saying, if you're able to look at the bigger picture and what it is that can help them in that space, like that makes such a big difference as well.
Yeah, like, and you've also got to navigate, you know, the minefield that is fucking puberty as well, right? I was like, you're giving an adult decision to a child, right? Of, hey, do you want to like try and do this as a career at fucking 14 or whatever they are, right? You're like, oh yeah, I want to do this. I was like, great, but you still watch bloody Simpsons on Nickelodeon or whatever. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, well,
yeah,
we still watch the Simpsons now, but that's different. And then the body's changing, the mind's obviously nowhere near developed. They've got the skill pressures. It's a really weird and difficult thing to navigate, but I find it so fascinating. And I think different countries' approach is really, really cool to be able to like, okay, how do you navigate that? And then how do you navigate that? And like, I kind of like the student athlete kind of take from America. I don't know too much about it. I've not gone through it, but I kind of like that you get a bit more of a support, because back home it's like we don't give a fuck whether you play sport or not. Like you've got to turn up to school, and if you don't, you know, you get 3 strikes, and then we're going to boot you out of school, right? And it's kind of like a but miss, like I'm kind of going to whatever level, and they just look at you as like, I don't give a fuck, mate. Like you're in German right now. Like I don't care whether you play rugby or not, or whether you pole vault or not. You know, it's a quite weird thing. It's like 2 separate entities, and like I got mates that are now pro athletes, but you know, it was a really touch and go because they got no qualifications, because they just were like, look, I'm either going to train and get kicked out of school and that's it, or I'm going to go to school and I'm no longer going to be able to do the sport thing. And they went for the first one. Ultimately would sleep on the desks, which I found was amazing. But yeah, it paid off, and for a lot of people it doesn't though, and I think it's a shame.
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be quite a bit more support in that space. Like for me, I think in New Zealand they're pretty good with like supporting athletes, but even then they don't really like fully understand it. So myself, we have 13 years of school. In my 13th year, well, like my 12th, 13th year was when I was 17, and then my last year was when I was 18. So I had my first sort of European season going into. So I sort of came onto the scene, was jumping around 440, 445, which at the time was enough to put me onto World Juniors and Commonwealth Games sort of levels. And I knew that I wanted to, the year before, do that European season. So that would be almost 8 weeks away from school when I was still in my last year. So I actually made the decision to go into correspondence. So do all of my, pretty much leave the school that I was at a few months into it. So my last year was fully online. Yeah, because I mean, you hear about it a little bit, definitely in gymnastics as well. But obviously in pole vault, I'd sort of reached that level and I wanted to, I'd say I probably wasn't the most academic. And so it kind of excited me to be doing that online, and I can still just like train and do whatever I want overseas. But it also meant that the support there was so different. Like I didn't have that motivation internally, that school gave me that motivation to like actually get my grades in or get something to do. So when I was doing that fully by myself, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like I literally just want to be training. Like I'm over in Europe. I don't want to be doing like this study for my assignment that's due in like 2 weeks.
Where'd you go in Europe?
Like, where'd I go?
Yeah.
We did Germany, which was like our base. So we did a few different places there, Belgium, and then we did London, and my mom came with me. So then we did like Paris after that. So it was awesome as like an 18-year-old to be.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, it was epic. Like I don't even mind that I didn't fully finish the year. Like it's okay. I got to, and I'm in university now, college. So I guess when you're talking about like how the US do it, I don't know what it's like in school, but I guess like school versus college or university. I see like a lot of athletes come from New Zealand in different sports and go over to compete for like their collegiate levels, which I see there as like you do sort of become one of like many different athletes. Whereas if you were to stay in New Zealand or like stay somewhere else, if you have all the support, like all of it sort of on you as like the individual, I feel like. Whereas overseas it can be in the collegiate level, it's like, right, you're just one of like this many people. As much of like a different and cool experience it is, but I don't know, it's
that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, because I mean you kind of are like in New Zealand, people, I mean, I'm like I've gone to the Commonwealth Games and like some people sort of like know of like pole vault or Eliza or myself, especially in like athletics New Zealand or like sport New Zealand, like you kind of know these people. Whereas if you go over to the States, it's like so and so from I don't know, Oregon or K-State or somewhere like that. It's like you're kind of known, but only if you like get top 3 at these major collegiate levels. Like it's that sort of difference.
Yeah, the competition is, you know, it's so much higher. There's so many more people. Everybody wants to play sport, and I don't know. I just relate to the States a lot. They use it to get out of places. You know, it's kind of like I coached a lot of youth, and I say to them, listen, there's 3 ways out, right? I usually like to coach the kids that I classed as like fucked up or ganged up, or you know what I mean, like the orphans. Like I, as a primary school teacher for a little bit in Manchester, southwest side, absolute dive of an area, but I loved it, right? And I'd literally say to kids, I was like, listen, man, like you got 3 ways out. One is academia, and that's pretty much out, let's be honest, because none of you turned up to your bloody test. And I can't really say anything. I was not the same as in the sense of I just sacked it off, but not a wizard in the classroom. Number 2 is you're going to have to work harder than you ever thought possible. And usually that's manual labor or multiple jobs or whatever. And then number 3 is sport. And, you know, a lot of people you see over in the States, like I think, what was it called? Like Last Chance U. That was a pretty cool documentary. You know, like a lot of people use sport to just elevate themselves and their family. And I think we need to be able to do a better job. I'm not too sure what it's like here. I think the development through youth is pretty cool. You know, like scholarships to go to whatever school to play whatever sport. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like back home, you would have to be a rich motherfucker, right? And to pay for a scout or whatever, like it's just not happening. But yeah, I find it definitely interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I like when you said there's like those 3 ways out. I mean, a kid hearing that, you're like, okay, like if you've broken it down rather than just like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going. It's like, right, okay, I could actually choose one of these 3 things and make something of myself or do something in that area. So yeah, that's cool. That's a good way to get them on.
It just winds me up when we put so much weight on academics, right? And I was like, okay, what? It's a fucking memory test, man. You know, like I remember the answer that you want me to tell you, right? And then you're going to grade on whether you like the answer that I told you, right? Or whatever you deem to be correct. And I was like, that just doesn't compute in my head. You know, it's like 1984 all over again. I was like, 2 + 2 is not 5, guys. Like, don't understand this. Like, hey, I don't know if I'm the only crazy person, but I don't get it. You know what I mean? And
After century, yeah.
I just think it's weird to just think that there is only one option and we all just need to follow the leader and become a cog, right? Like, I don't know. I'm one of these crazy people that sits on a rock and thinks about these things. But, I also came out of West Side of Manchester and worked with a lot of kids. And I'm like, there's a lot in you, man. Like there's a lot in you. You could be a phenomenal social worker. You could be a great fucking football player, or you could be an incredible scientist or whatever, like, I don't know, poet or some shit. It doesn't matter what it is, right? And if we just like always try and put circles in a square hole, we're going to cast out a lot of people. And I don't think that's fair. I think equal opportunity is the way to go, placing everybody on the start line. And hey, if you don't fucking get off that start line, that's on you, motherfucker. That's not on me.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I feel like it's when it comes to like school and academia, you're just put into a box. Like there's not really that much room for creativity at all, and you're just told like it is just a memory test. And like I really sort of struggled with that. I was like, I just don't feel like I'm where I want to be. Like I just want to be out there training, and I know this is good for me, and everyone's telling me it's good for me, and like it is. And even now, like I'm doing uni and having something else on the side, but like at the same time, like as a kid, you're pretty much just told like not your worth, but like if you get a C or an A, like that almost like doesn't define you, but you're like, oh, I'm the dumb kid, or oh, I wish I was as smart as them, but I have something else inside of me. And then like what gets really dulled down is like they don't, I guess kids don't feel like they can really like dream or like have these big like ambitions or goals, because like sport, oh, you want to go to the Olympics, or oh, you want to be a professional athlete, that's a big deal. I don't know if you can make that. It's like, well, give the kid a chance and actually be able to like believe in themselves or have other people believing in them, because they can do it. And like, yeah, hell of a lot of work goes into that, but like give it a go, like actually be able to have something else besides this one thing that we're sort of put into a box to do, like have some, like feel some other worth from it. Like I know I've felt a lot of worth from being an athlete and learning so much more about myself from that as I ever would have through academia, whereas someone else might get more of that through academia. Like you just need to find out what it is from that young age, I guess, like around that teenage level.
100%. And the thing is, it changes, You want to make a decision, fucking go with it. You want to do whatever, go with it. Like the world needs more people with some fire in their eyes, doing whatever they want to do and just let up. Like I think that's the definition of beauty, right? Someone with a little bit of passion in their eyes that is just living the way they want to live and just being whoever they are. I'm like, that right there, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the name is, but that right there is beautiful. Nothing to do with the physical thing. There's everything to do with what's coming out of their eyes. And I think that's what the world needs more of, and rather than just, you're going to do this. And even, right, I'm going down. You've fired me the fuck up. I'm ready to punch through a wall. This is not good. Like, don't give me any more caffeine for the rest of the day. Like, I need to go work out after this. You've got me fucking rolling on a fucking bun roll. But fuck tall poppy, right? In the sense of someone wants to go do something and has the bloody balls or brains, whichever metaphor you want to use, it doesn't matter, to be like, hey, I kind of want to like give this an attempt, right? And you mentioned the Olympics, right? Hey, I might want to go to the Olympics. Fucking go for it, man. And guess what? If you fail, like 99.9% will, you're going to be so much further than you are today. And that's going to be incredible, because you're going to learn so much along the way. You're going to meet so many people. You're going to fuck up a lot, which obviously that's where all the lessons, you're going to achieve so much, right? You're going to be able to look back and go, holy shit, like, how am I in Europe? Right? I'm in from this like Middle Earth in the middle of, the bottom right-hand corner of the world. How the fuck did I end up in Europe? I met all these people. Next thing you know, you're working with sport for a, I don't know, whatever company. Or you make it, And I'm like, there is no downside. Like, it's going to be hard. Yeah, but life's hard, man. Life's not complicated. It's just hard. Right? That's it. Full stop. And if, honestly, just fucking bigging people up, Big your people up. They want to go do something, write a book, I don't know, start a blog, run a marathon, or go to the Olympics, whatever the fuck it is. Hey, I want to be a stay-at-home man. Do that, man. Like, just do that.
Yeah. Finding what that is, find what that fire in your eyes is, what you want to do, and like not letting anyone else tell you that you can't do it. And if they do, like, I mean, there's always gonna be people along the way who are like, oh, I don't know if you can do that. It's like, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put absolutely everything into it. And at the end of the day, if I can look back and know that I gave it absolutely everything, then I can be happy. I can be proud of myself. And that whole journey to get there, like you said, there's so many opportunities that can come in the way to get there. Like, I know heaps of athletes that personally, their goal may have been to get to the Olympics, and possibly the system's a little bit too hard for them, or they're not quite there. And they've realized that I've put so much into the sport and I'm going to get so much out of it. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Olympics. Like, you can put so much like weight on achieving this huge thing, but then knowing that whether you get it or whether you don't, there's going to be so much like greater learning from it. And I think that that whole thing is just around like perspective and like what success looks like to you. I mean, for me, I'm still pretty set on the Olympics because I know that that's something that like I'm capable of, and that I know if I do A, B, and C, I'll be able to get there. But again, like, I've learned so much out of it, and I think just letting kids know, and letting like even not even kids, like teenagers, 20-year-olds, that like you can do this. Like, you don't need to be putting any like barriers on yourself. You don't need to be like restricted to certain boxes or certain things. Like, you got the general like school, uni, job. It's like perfect. That works for some people. For me, I was like, I'm gonna be an athlete. That's something that I want to put absolutely everything into. That's the fire in my eyes. Like your eyes, that may be this job that you're doing uni for, but finding what it is that actually like motivates you. I think there just needs to be a lot more in that, because you can just absolutely like put your heart and soul into something that is going to give you everything. It's going to give back to you no matter what, like you said. Yeah.
And people get attracted to that, right? Like, by shining your own light, other people are like, holy fuck, that's kind of cool. Like, all right, maybe I'm gonna, like, I don't know, start drawing on a weekend, right? And the next thing you know, it's the next Picasso or some shit, you know, like whatever it is. Like, people get fired up from seeing other people fired up. And I don't know why we're all walking around with a chastity belt on, where it's like, oh no, I can't show any passion. Like, I've just got to, you know, kind of be this like unwatered dandelion. I'm like, just, a dandelion's a weed, isn't it? That's probably not the greatest of it. Whatever. You know what I mean? You know where I'm going with that? Just
Yeah.
whatever the fuck you want to do, man. And if people don't like it, great. Like, you know, fuck them.
Yeah. I think New Zealand, like, coming back to that tall poppy syndrome, like, you're not even told to, like, it's just, and you can be like humble within yourself while doing that.
Of course,
but
of
at the
course.
same time, it's like, show some confidence, show some grit, passion, whatever it's got inside of you, rather than just being like, oh, I didn't even know that I would be here. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I look back or even looking forward to the future, and like, say I have a Olympic medal or something like that. I'm like, everyone always says like, I never believed this would happen. Like, I can't believe it, which I probably will be saying, but at the same time, it's like, well, I can believe it because I put absolutely everything into this to actually get here. Like, I knew I would be here because this was my goal. This was my dream. Like, I didn't just stumble upon this Olympic medal. No, like, I put everything into it, and that was my dream when I got there. But yeah, that journey along the way, you want to be able to knowing that you were like a good person, that you put everything into what you did. You had that work ethic. You like met so many awesome people. So there's a lot more that goes into it. That's what I just love about sport. There's like so much variability and like so much that you can learn. And then after you've done that, go into a job which is going to look for people that want that extra 1%, that want those like new, creative, different ideas that sport sort of gives you as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. People think life is short, but life is long, man. You know, you got time to live 100 different lives, right? Like, I genuinely believe that we're different people day to day, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be different tomorrow. I was different yesterday. I don't think in a sense of I'm going to be like 8 foot and a basketball player, like completely different. But I think we're an accumulation, right? But you've got enough time to try something out. And hey, you try 5 years, okay, 5 weeks, whatever length of time it is, 10 years. It doesn't work out. Fantastic. But that's going to bleed off into something else. It's never a rip the piece of paper off and set it alight. Like, there's always things that that then kind of carry forward, right? Like, and hearing someone, you know, sharing a whiskey with someone, a beer, like a milkshake, right, whatever it is, and sharing some stories of just like, hey, tell me a story. Next thing you know, I don't know, I was backpacking in Tibet and I was doing this or whatever, or oh, back in the day I went to the Commonwealth Games for pole vault. You're like, what the fuck? What do you mean pole vault? That's the thing that you kind of like throw yourself over. I was like, yeah, upside down, yeah. You're
Yeah.
like talk to me. Like it's interesting, you know. We relate over stories, and you know, we pay money to go to the pitches and watch stories. All right.
Yeah.
And why don't we
Yeah.
just write our own?
Exactly. Love it. Love it. I mean, yeah, I see other people just around. I'm like, man, I would love to know what your story is. Like just random people. I'm just like, how did you end up here? Or like, where did you come from? Like, you're just like, huh. Everyone has a story, and everyone has like, I mean, you'd hope like there's a few like different things that go into it. Like, oh yeah, I was a gymnast for 10 years. Then I went into pole vaulting and I did this, and then yourself, like coaching, and then like this podcast, and then like all sorts of different things with like kids. And it's just like, well, everyone has something. So as much as you can fit into that, this short, long life, whatever you want to put it, you're going to learn so much more out of. That's kind of what we put on here to do, is learn about life, everything that goes into it, yourself, your body, your mind, and yeah, keep coming back to sport. But again, there's so many different ways to do that.
We're physical beings, you know. We're encased in this physical shell, and we exist in a physical realm. So it's like, go do something fucking physical, right? Whether you, I don't know, hike, play ping pong, tiddlywinks, or go to the Olympics, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, you don't have to do combat sport, you don't have to do physical sport. Like, you know, you can play darts, right? But you're still gonna get something out of it, you know. Like, go do something physical rather than just sat down, glued to a video game 24 hours a day. I think, you know, if if you get some sort of release from that, right, fine. But there's you know, there's a lot of to be gained from going outside, you know, and getting around with people and playing a bit of sport and playing football fives, and you know what I mean? Like there's a hell of a lot there.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a hell of a lot of fun doing it as well.
Fuck yeah. Especially when it
I
gets a little bit too competitive, you know, like, see, I'm
yeah.
European, so everything's competitive, you know, like things get a little bit, shoulders get a little bit brushed, you know, ref didn't see, don't worry about it, sir. So what's the time? We've just started. Oh, no, we're 1-0 up. It must be like close to full time by now, you know. You just got to chat some shit, man. Just have a
Yeah,
little bit of a laugh.
exactly. I mean, being a professional competitive athlete, it does go like this, like very much so. It's like up and down. But as much as I can come back to why I do it, I have fun. I want to be the best I can be. As cheesy as that sounds, like that's what we're trying to do. But yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible outlet to be able to do that as well.
See, I don't think it's cheesy, right? Because I think we need something to chase. I think complacency is the worst thing, right? You see someone sit down and they don't get up anymore, like it. You see just the life drain out of their eyes, and that's it. They've kind of given up before it's over, right? They've sat down at the 80th minute and was like, guys, we've got another 10 minutes to play. Like, what are you doing? I was like, it's over. I was like, but you've got more years in you, you know, you've got more stories to write, you've got more people to see and things to do. And I don't think it's cheesy. I think we need something to chase, whatever that is, right? You're trying to create the perfect formula to figure out astrophysics, right? Or you're trying to get some sort of perfect, like, I don't know, yoga pose or something. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. We always need something to strive for and something to chase. Like, I think so.
Yeah, definitely. And finding what that dream is for you. Like, it is a dream. And whatever works for you is going to work for you, but you just need to figure out what that is and try a bunch of different things. Like you said, it's never too late. Finding that at a young age is great. It works for some people. It's worked for me, but it doesn't, I don't think you're ever too old to like start trying something else or like move into a different outlet or avenue. Like having that dream to actually like spark something inside of you to get up every day. Why am I getting up? Why am I getting out of bed? It's because this is the main thing that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get better at this. This is something that sparks that passion inside myself. Like
Want is always stronger than a need. If you want something, you'll figure it out. Like if you need something, you'll come up with an excuse. You're like, oh, I'm getting like pushed towards it, and oh, I'm a bit tired. I was like, no, motherfucker, like do something. If you want something, it'll be done. If it can take you 2 weeks, or it could take you 20 years, you'll find a way.
Yeah. I mean, one of the, like a quote that I found a few years ago was like, what was it? Your desire for success must be greater than your fear of failure. So like as much as you want something, your fear of failure, it's easy for that to like get in the way. But as long as you like have that zone and you know what it is that you want and you have that absolute desire within yourself to like succeed, and whatever that success looks like to anyone, whether that could be, I don't know, getting this degree, to being an Olympian, to getting as many, I don't know, cleaning jobs, anything at all. But like that fear of failure is what stops people. Like they think they want it, but working hard, or being afraid what other people may think, or having that fear that you might fail, like that's what sort of gets in that way. And that's why I think not everyone sort of has that in them, because that fear of failure trumps what that success may be for them. So I think that's probably one of the things that gets in the way, and that's why not everyone sort of can do it. But like as long as you have that like vision and desire for success, I think that's when you're going places.
I agree. What's your relationship like with fear?
Yeah, false evidence appearing real.
You like that one?
That old one. It's something I had to go through to learn more about myself. Like I said, the Olympics was like the biggest thing for me, and it always has been since a kid. That has been my dream. And towards Tokyo, I think my fear of failure got in the way of my season. So I had to say probably like 6 competitions, 3 really important ones that I had to do well at to be able to compete, or like give myself a shot at qualifying for the Olympics. And of course I had that desire for success. That's something, the big O show, that was the biggest thing that was at like the back of my head. But it just kept creeping forward, that it was like the main thing that I was thinking about. And I forgot about my processes. I forgot about what I needed to actually be doing in that moment, because that fear of failure came into it. Oh, if I don't make the Olympics, then I'm possibly a failure. If I don't make this, like so many people think that I can do it. Like I've been in the shadow of Eliza McCartney for like quite a while, since a very young age. Like she made the bronze medal at the Rio Olympics, and then I came through and beat her little under 17 record, and that blew me up on like media and on the stage to be like the next like pole vaulter, New Zealand pole vaulter, breaking Eliza's records. It's like she was 16 when she did this. Like I'm 16, but like that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. Like I know I am going to be the next, whatever it is, the next Olivia McTaggart. I'm not going to follow in her footsteps, but that fear of failure, because I knew so many people, it sounds stupid, but so many people believed in me that I could make the Olympics, and like that's such a good thing. But I saw it as like, shit, this is scary. Like I have this fear that if I don't make the Olympics, I am a failure. This is something that I know I should be able to do. But so that was a big learning experience for me. Obviously didn't make the Olympics, and to be honest, that's what I needed in my life to go forwards. Whatever happens for a reason. But fear can look like so many different things. It can be massive things like not achieving a dream or a goal. But again, I'm still going to get that. Or it can look like just bungee jumping on the side of like a, like there's so much that goes into what fear looks like to you. It could be the fear of what other people think of you. It could be the fear of not achieving a dream. But I think once you do fail at something that you've been absolutely scared to fail at, you realize it's not the end of the world, and you can go forward and actually like try to block that out more. So now my success is trumping that fear. And I think that's why I've sort of had a pretty successful season the last year, is because I haven't really been afraid of that. I've just been doing what I need to do and focusing on myself and that process over outcome approach. As long as you're in the moment, in the zone, and not and trying to block out everything else, like I mean, that's all that you can be doing for yourself. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Like a lot of the time, it's not even real. It's not a thing. It's not really a tangible thing at the end of the day as well. It can be, but
that's it. Well, because you're always anticipating something, right? And anticipation is the future, and the future doesn't exist, and it's not guaranteed, right? So it's always, oh, this could go wrong, or this might happen, or such and such. It's a very strange one. It obviously it keeps us alive in a lot of situations. But to reach that highest potential in whatever, you more than likely have to break through that, right?
Yeah.
If any athlete turns around and goes, oh, I'm not scared, I'm gonna call bullshit. Right.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, like, yeah, it's scary, but like you learn how to deal with that anxiety, right? And then that's a transferable skill to life. Like fear is a funny one.
Yeah. I mean, it's always going to be there. It's just how you manage it at the end of the day as well. That fear of not being Olympian is still going to be there for me, but it's how can you manage that and like cancel that out with something else, or even feel it. Feel that fear. Do it anyway. I feel like that's a quote from somewhere as well. Feeling that fear and doing it anyway.
You used to walk in book of quotes or something.
Yeah, but you're right. It is a really interesting one. But again, I think you have to fail to learn more about that as well.
Oh, I think you have to fuck up, man. I think the more you fuck up, the better. Yeah. In my opinion, like just fail at everything. Like just try something and fuck it up, right? And you're like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not going to do that. And maybe you do it again another 7 times, right? But on the 8th attempt, you finally get it. You're like, okay, I'm not going to make that failure again. I'm not going to fuck up again in the same way for the 8th time. Come on, Alex. Like, this is a bit daft now. You know, like, I think you learn so much. And again, it goes to school, you know, it's like, oh, you got 60%. That's a D or whatever. So you don't have to do it again. Like, you fucked up. I was like, okay, but we should be celebrating. I was like, hey, you got in the arena, you know, man in the arena is my favorite quote and my favorite speech. It was like, you got in the arena, you fucking had a fist fight with it. And guess what? You got knocked on your ass a couple of times, but high five, you walked into that goddamn arena. And like, I think it's going to be my life's work to try and like instill this in people, because I love coaching, right? I'll coach fucking whatever. You want to come in, we'll play Teddy Winks, we'll play Teddy Winks. You want to talk about it and we have a hug, we'll have a hug and talk about it. You want to go so hard and you want to go, I don't know, super hard at fitness, we'll do that. But it's like, guys, you got yourself out of bed. You walked through that fucking door. You know how much balls that takes? I was like, that's badass. Now let's fuck it up. Now let's do something, right? I was like, oh, I went out too hot. I was like, okay, great. Now don't go out too hot. Don't do a set of 21 thrusters unbroken. That's probably a dumb idea, right? I want you to take 3 seconds, you know, and you start like figuring it out, right? It goes back to the jigsaw. I was like, you're not going to get jigsaw like perfect every single time. You got to fuck it up. Yeah. I'm the biggest example, mate. I'm the biggest fuck up going.
We all have fuck ups in us. They're all there. Yeah,
100%.
Certainly. I think that's why like you do just learn so much more about yourself. Like you sometimes get greater learnings out of fucking up, out of just like not getting what you wanted, out of what you do want in a way. Like and that can look like so many different things, like whether it's intentional. I know like in athletics and myself, like I've had quite a few injuries as well, which at the end of the day, sometimes you think, oh, like, why is this happening to me? This is like so shit. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like get through the season or whatever. But like, you then come back to your processes. What am I rehabbing? What am I going to do to get there? So it's like injuries can be like that. But then also just different ways of who you have on your team. Like I've changed my team around quite a bit as well in terms of strength coaches, like sports psychs. If one thing wasn't working for me, you realize it, you reflect on it, and you go on to the next. Okay, what is going to work for me now? It's great that I learned that. It's great that I learned that something wasn't working, or I had a shit season back in 2020. It's like, okay, I needed that to then bring me through to 2021 where I changed that team around, started getting some different things into my programming. And then now this year, it's like, well, 2 years of not very good seasons. Like, yeah, I still got like tiny little PBs in there. Can't complain, but like so many different things, like whether it's, I don't know, we just put so much like weight on what those performances are and what those heights are. Like that's all that we're chasing. And oh, if I didn't jump, the big one is like qualifying for an event. And in sport, it's like there's always one height. For us, it's like 470. That's the Olympic qualifier. I didn't get it. I failed. No, you didn't. I put absolutely everything into that to get there. And like, you don't need to, I think it's like attaching your identity to that as well, which is the scariest part, is like how much weight you put on it. Like it's going to be so much scarier if you say, I'm a failure if I don't do this, or like when you attach yourself to it rather than, right, like I screwed up or that didn't work, what can I do about that now? That's not me. I'm not attached to that. So detaching yourself, but then actually being able to learn from it. Like, yeah, it's simple at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, I think your identity is paired with the process, right? The work ethic that goes along with it and the journey, right? And it goes back to those stories. Like that's your identity. The identity is not if they wrap a medal around your neck or not. I was like, great. Like that medal is going to look the same, but that individual is going to change. And like just because that person won gold medal, for example, I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
Right. Like I love weightlifting. Like weightlifting is my thing. Right. And there was I want to say London, or maybe it was wrong, but there's a German super heavyweight, right? He won gold, and you're like, okay, great, he won gold. Germany took gold, and everyone's like, that's cool. And then you walk off, right? But what you actually know is his wife got had a car crash, right? She died, and before she died, he told her he was going to win a gold medal, right? And people are fired up behind that story. People are fired up behind his journey to get there, right? It's got nothing to do with the gold medal. He's got to the fucking Olympics, right? And he told his wife before she died. Like that's where the identity lies. Like it's the critics that, you know, and the haters, if you want to call them that are first to be like, oh, they're shit, they missed the 470. Right? I was like, dude, you can't even hold a pole vault. You can't hold the fucking pole. You can't hold it in the air. Never mind, chuck yourself over. Nearly 5 meters in the goddamn air. Like that's bonkers.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, definitely. That's what I love about the Olympics and even watching it. I think something sparked in me this year watching it where I was like, every single one of you athletes has gone through some shit. Like you have all gone through challenges, and I can like, you see the emotion and you see that rawness, and then when they get that, if they fail or if they, it's not even failing, if they like don't set out to what they achieve versus the Olympic medalists, it's like, damn, you have gone through something. You don't get that emotional from having it easy. No Olympian, I think, has ever had it easy. And if they have, then they're probably kidding themselves. They have something else going on up here, even if they didn't have something else going on like externally outside of them. So yeah, I mean that story, I've seen some of the YouTube clips on that. Like it's incredible. Like
dude,
you
I
just
watch it over and over. Like
yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Like I just want to have a coffee and a hug with every fucking Olympian and just be like, tell me a story, man. You know, let's just like chat some shit and tell me what it's like growing up in like your country, doing your sport, or what did you have to do to get here? Like, and like we use the example of the Olympics and the pinnacle of sport, right? But this is even like Sunday league or a PE class, and then you branch off and you relate it to everyday life. Like it's what I love. Like sport and fitness is our medium, right? That's just what we relate to people with to improve lives. Well, it's just a medium, and there's many mediums, right? But you use it's a transferable skill, and you can bleed it off into other things. You know, dealing with anxiety is a big one. Like I get any high level athlete in, and I used to. Okay, I'm going down a rabbit hole. But I used to coach a class called Engine Rooms, right? Basically, it was me trying to break you for an hour. And I would
Right.
like play games with you psychologically. I try and break these people, right? Like as you do,
Yeah.
because we're all sadistic. And you could always tell the people that had played spot because they were like, okay, what's next? You know what I mean? What's next? Okay, they'll just deal with it and like pulling people through. And everyone that didn't was like, what the fuck is this? Like, he's trying to kill me. I was like, I told you, like, you signed a waiver before this class that if you have a heart attack, it's on you, right? No, I'm joking. It wasn't
Love
that
it.
bad. But,
Yeah.
dealing with anxiety, it's a big one, big
Mm.
transferable skill.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely. Like, I've gone through that a little bit within like those sort of high performance, high pressure situations as well. You kind of have to go through that to understand it. But that anxiety, again, just sort of a lot of that actually attaches up to that fear, or attaches up to the uncertainty of what's going to be happening later on. Like, I think myself definitely, and a lot of athletes are very future focused. I don't know. I think some people are more like in the past and they let that sort of define what they're doing now. Some people are more future dominated and that sort of attaches to what they're doing now. And it can be really hard to actually find people or even athletes that are just like full in the moment. And that anxiety, a lot of that comes from like, this is what I want. And I know the process is to get there, but it still scares the shit out of me. I don't know if that's something that's gonna happen. I could get injured at any point. My pole could snap at any point. I've had that 4 times throughout my career. 2 of them were at the absolute worst possible times. One of them was 3 months before attempting to qualify for the Olympics. So I snapped the pole completely out of my hands. It was scary, as it always is, the other 3 times I did it. Broke my hand, had 8 weeks process. I was in a cast, still thinking in my head, I've got 2 months to qualify for the Olympics. Like, it was just like, I don't know what's going to be happening. I had 3 competitions. So after I'd broken my hand and snapped that pole, I had the rehab process, and we put on specifically 3 competitions for myself and Eliza to qualify for the Olympics. Both of us were injured. Both of us, to be honest, it wasn't looking likely we'd jump 470. That's what we needed to get. We finished that 3rd competition. Neither of us got even probably that close to the qualifying mark that we had to do in that time period. But if I looked back and had just left it there after I broke my hand and not given those 3 comps a go, I probably would have regretted it. And like, I put absolutely everything I could into that. And that's like on a broader spectrum. If I can look back and had put everything, no stone left unturned, that I can be proud of that. And yeah, I think a lot of that can be overshadowed by performances and heights and everything like that. Again, went on a little bit of tangent there, but yeah, that's
No. Like the effort involved. That's the thing. Like, you could have gone there and like not made 30 centimeters, right? In all 3 of them. But you laced up your friggin' shoes and were like, right, my hand's fucked, but I'm going to do this anyway. Because that right there is inspirational. You know, that's from a coach's perspective. You see your athlete or a athlete or just a friggin' person be like, you know what? Nah, fuck it. Let's do it. Like, I'm going to go in one more time, right? I'm going to get up. It's like the whole Rocky thing. You're like, that right there is why we could do sleepless nights, why we research, why we do X, Y, Z, you know, A, B, and C. Like, that's amazing. And guess what? Like I said, didn't even jump 30 centimeters. Hypothetically, I know you jumped more than 30 centimeters. Like, you'd be like, you just faced so much, and that's incredible.
Yeah, and like, you do need to feel those emotions as well. Like, the weight of that emotion, as soon as I finished that last jump, Eliza as well, we were crying. It was that was like, as soon as we landed on the mat, I'm not going to the Olympics. That's that dream for this year done. Like, that's the goal stopped. And you see like my family and my parents and my friends, they're like emotional about it as well. But like, I love that I can like feel that much about something just as much as I would like having qualified or anything like that. Like, sport just allows you to feel everything. Like, and that's just such a special thing that creates so much weight. And it can go either way. You can get super upset, super happy, excited, anxious, nervous, everything. But feeling that and like embracing it is so important, I think, as well.
Fuck, I'm fired up. I'm ready to like headbutt a baby or something. Right. Don't take that out of context.
Yeah.
I got 3 questions.
Yeah.
Right. What's the greatest piece of life advice you ever received? I'm sorry, I'm just dropping you in it. It's like,
that's a big one. Like, I even thought about that the other day. I was thinking about this. I was like, I don't even know what that would be. But one of the things that I have thought about, I remember who it was that gave it to me. I think it was one of my coaches back in the day, which was give 100% of what you've got. Super basic, super simple. But if you're turning up to training and you only feel 40%, 30%, give 100% of that 40, 30%. Yeah, I talked to Lisa Carrington, caught up with, had some coffee with her a few months ago, and she's an incredible athlete, and she puts a lot of it down to that. Just like, yeah,
just show up, man. Just show up. Just do something. Like, come in, like, just move around, stretch a little bit, go home. Like, you've done something. You know, it's more than eating bonbons on your couch. You know, like, come on, do something. That's massive. And I think the average Joe needs to hear that. Oh, I'm not gonna go. I'm sore as piss. I was like, great. Welcome to my life. I'm always sore. Like, get in the gym, do something, walk around. You know, carry a 3-kilo dumbbell around on a treadmill or something, and then for 5 minutes and go home. Like, yeah, that's it. And you create the habit too, right? And you keep the habit. And I think we are habitual creatures. I'm definitely that. Like, I need to do, you know, pretty much the similar thing every morning, by like Sundays, because I disappear. But you know, I think it's a lot of weight in that. What's the worst piece of life advice you ever received?
Worst piece of life advice I've ever received. That's a tough one, eh? Life advice. I think it's probably going to be something along the lines of like just not achieving something that you want to, or being like, so this isn't going to be like, this is more holistic, like things that I've sort of felt that we were talking about before when it came back to like
say whatever the fuck you want to say. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's in general, whether it was advice or whether it was more what I was thinking other people were saying, when we were going back to school, it was like when people would say or wouldn't, you can tell when people don't fully believe in you, or like fully don't think that you can make it to the Olympics, or like when you're at a young age and you have that dream, just some bad advice or like worst things that can come your way is like someone thinking that you can't do it, or it's such a far-fetched thing. And that's why I was going back to let a kid dream, let a kid believe. Like, and I've had a lot of support in my life, and a lot of people believe in me. But people who aren't in sport and people who don't have that perspective don't understand it. And they're like, oh yeah, great, you're gonna be an Olympian. So what's your actual job? Like, that is my actual job, and that will be for a while now. I'm doing what I can right now. So yeah, probably just the fact that they don't think that being an athlete is a job or something that you can put everything into.
Other people's opinions on you are not yours to bear.
Yes.
So
continuously learning that.
Hey?
Continuously learning that.
Like, it's,
yeah,
you know, it's a lesson we all need to learn every day, right? Like sometimes they sting a little bit more than they should, and that's okay. You know, lick your wounds a little bit, but ultimately you're a bad motherfucker, so get up and tell them to go fuck themselves and carry on. You know,
exactly.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, that's why it's bad worst advice, because it is terrible advice. I don't need to take it on. It's your advice, but I'm still gonna be an Olympian.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Like, yeah, they might not, but that's fine. Whatever. You know, we got a saying back home, like, I don't come into your house and slap the dick out of your mouth, so don't tell me what to do. You know, like,
fair enough.
But you could always just put it a little bit more politely. But you know, we're not known for beating around the bush. What's 3 words you tell your younger self?
3 words I'd tell my younger self. Like 3 separate words.
Oh, 3 separate words, or you can make a sentence out of it. Like, it's completely up to you. This is your thing.
I love just looking back, and because a lot of what I do is to make my younger self proud.
Oh,
so
god damn, that's heavy. I fucking love that shit.
So, you know, I would try and make a lot of people proud, but if I can look back and 8-year-old Olivia is like, damn, like you've done well, then I can be proud of that. But
you're gonna make me tear up. Right at the end, you're gonna make me fucking tear up.
It's deep. It's
I
like
held it together all this time, motherfucker, and you're making me tear up. This is not good.
Love it. That's what we want. We want that emotion. Probably you are capable. If you put it down to 3. And I believe that. I believe that now. And as a kid, I was just turning up to training each day and putting the work in, but maybe didn't necessarily know what that would look like. But I believed in myself, and just to tell her, 8-year-old Livy, you're capable. Like, you can do it. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And you've definitely shown that to yourself, right? Like, countless times. So I hope you keep believing it. And fuck, I'm gonna have to like sit with that one. That's hit me right in the sucker punch.
Good.
Motherfucker. I'm gonna have to go cry and go to the gym and get all this emotion out. This is not good, but
get it out.
Yeah. Avoid oh no. That's we hear a lot, right? You know, we're always connected now with the internet and all that type of nonsense, but it's something that I hope people feel. Like, they feel that they're capable of achieving what they want, right? And if it's written in the stars that it's for them to not achieve that, then great. But they gave it a fucking shot. They made their younger self proud, right? And then they've made it to a situation and a position that they'd never thought they'd be in. And I really hope people feel that, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really hope so too. I hope they can take a lot of that on board and be able to really believe in themselves and feel like they are capable of even starting to dream a dream, even starting to have something. People are even scared to like actually put that out there and actually say, I want to be able to do this. Start with that and then put the work towards it.
This might sound a little crazy, but you know how little people spend looking in their own eyes? I think it's the gateway to people's soul, right? Just look yourself in the goddamn eye and tell yourself you're a bad motherfucker, right?
Yes.
Because, you know, everybody's come through some sort of adversity, whether you grew up in poverty or you didn't, right? Whether you got 99% on all grades and that was the most shameful thing that's ever happened to you, with a silver spoon in your ass. It doesn't matter, right? Like, we've all got some sort of adversity in our life, right? But you're still fucking here, man. You know, like, you're still here. Like, no one can make you do it. Like, I could draw out the treasure map, right, to go to get the buried treasure. But like, here you go, Liv. Like, this is how you do it. All you got to do is just walk. But you've still got to walk.
Yeah.
I can't do that for you. Like, and no one can do that for you. Like, people are doing that. And we need to realize, like, holy shit, like, everything I have and everything I've done and everything I've gained and all this shit around me is an accumulation of the shit I've done. I was like, that's pretty cool, right? And there's a massive difference between confidence and arrogance. And like, obviously we don't want to be cocky and arrogant and whatever, and that can go fuck itself, but you're alive, man. You know, you woke up, it's a sunny day, it's a miserable day, it doesn't matter. You're the little ray of sunshine. High five yourself in the mirror or something, slap yourself on the ass, whatever gets you going, right? And go do your thing. Because I think humans are the worst thing and the best thing on the planet, and you get to decide, are you going to be a dick or you're going to be, you know, I put something up and some people didn't like it, but fuck them, of like, you know, be kind, not a cunt. I was like, you got 2 options, right? You could be whatever you want to be, you know, and it's not for me to decide. You could be a cunt if you wanted, or you could be super kind and smile at people, even when, you know, we got masks on and people don't really want to see you, and head down. I was like, oh, I hope you have a great day, pal, you know.
Yeah, it's simple. It's easy stuff sometimes. Yeah.
Fuck, fired up.
Make it happen.
Right. You go get up to mischief or whatever you do, throw yourself over a pole. Like, that's insane. I'm still a little bit mind blown. And we'll talk soon. You're more than welcome to come down to the studio. I'm trying to get home sometime this year, and I'm also trying to marry it up to around the Commonwealth, so I can, like, you know, go see some people, go see the freaks, the gladiators, just kind of do some things.
You'll be the alien coming in and watching
yes.
the pole go over the pole with the
100%. Be like, what is this?
Yeah,
like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, no, I get like, I got really bad, like, vertigo.
Oh, okay.
I'm like 2 meters in the air and not in height, but if I'm 2 meters in the air and I look down and, like, things are getting blurry, it's really bad. Planes are an issue, so man, but never mind 5 meters or whatever you guys do. It's crazy. With a pole, no, fuck that. But utmost admiration for it. Right, you're a legend. Go do your thing, and we'll speak soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, take it easy. Bye, everybody.